Great. So, Nick, I guess best place to start is by telling everyone what your role is at Sicas.
Yeah, so I'm the head of sport at St. Catherine's School in Toorak, just a little bit out of the CBD of Melbourne.
Great. And what's your day-to-day look like at the school?
So I oversee all of our sports program. You know, going into term 3, we've got weekly sport. We play in the Girls Sport Victoria competition, which is 24 girls schools around Melbourne. We'll be playing badminton and soccer in term 3. It's also our track and field season. We're a big snow sports school, so we've got our hopefully the girls are able to get up to the snow throughout the snow sports season, and we're also going into the new rowing season. So yeah, overseeing all of those aspects of the program.
Fantastic. And Nick, how long have you been using Clipboard for now?
So we did a bit of a trial run at the end of 2019. So I played around with a few of our sports in term 4 of last year, and then decided to go with it for all of our inter-school sport programs in 2020. So since the start of the year, we've been using it.
Fantastic. And I guess what was life like before you started using Clipboard? And like what problems were you really looking to solve?
Yeah, so the main challenge that that Clipboard's allowed us to overcome is that previously we'd have, say, maybe 6 tennis teams go out, for example. You might have 2 going to a school up the road, 2 going to another school, 2 playing at home. And as it happens with interschool sport, you know, it'll get to the time to jump on the bus and you might need to quickly reshuffle your team and grab a couple of girls and go, oh, you need to go here just to, change up the pairings or whatever happens. Someone hasn't turned up. And the way we were taking our attendance was when things like that were happening, we didn't have an accurate idea of, where students were going. So we were taking, paper rolls, and our method was take a photo of the paper roll, send that photo to one of our directors who, then they would be the only person with knowledge of where the students were. So with Clipboard, we're able to really easily have an account of where our students are when they're off at interschool sport. Obviously, we've been able to get rid of all the paper rolls. It's all electronic. Being able to give access to our coaches is fantastic because it doesn't rely on the teacher in charge taking the role. We can divvy that job up, and our coaches are able to take the role as well. So in terms of our risk management and having an accurate account of where students are going and our record keeping, Clipboard's been really helpful.
Wow, yeah, that's really cool. So what were the issues with the paper roll marking before you went to Clipboard?
So one of my roles is to sign students off for say colours, sport colours and those sorts of things. So I'd have students coming to me and asking for me to sign them off. Part of that is an attendance check, and make sure that they've been attending training sessions, attending matches, those sorts of things. As soon as those paper rolls go missing, I've got no idea of whether they were actually meeting the attendance criteria. So, which that does happen. One sheet of paper like that across a term can go missing. It can be inaccurate. Often they come back to me quite messy. So now having it all online, I can just type a student's name in and see their attendance. Has streamlined that process quite a bit, which is great.
Fantastic. And I guess what other problems outside of attendance did St. Catherine's used to experience?
I guess we never quite, like I said before, say your 6 tennis teams, we would set a team at the start of a week, and then that team might change when it comes to actual match time. So we probably never had really accurate records of who was playing in what team and those sorts of things. So with Clipboard, it's so easy to drag and drop students between teams now. So again, taking all of that away from paper. In terms of our record keeping, it's become much better, and digitalize all into one place has really helped. Yeah, that's probably the main things that it's assisted with, I think. Yeah.
I think that sounds like a good overview. So do you think Clipboard, as you've been fully using it this year, has saved you time? And if so, how much do you think?
It certainly has saved time, particularly like that process of checking criteria for colours was previously quite time consuming, and now having all that data in the one place that I can easily check does really help. In terms of an overall schedule, so previously I would send an email out each week which has the schedule for all of our coaches. I don't need to do that anymore. I'm lucky to have an admin person in the office for 1 day a week, so I get her to set up the weekly schedule for all of our teams on Clipboard. The notifications go out to staff. If there needs to be any changes, I can ask my admin assistant to send a notification out to staff via Clipboard. So all of that communication, again, having it in one place, the easy ability to communicate changes to staff has really helped.
Nick, obviously COVID-19 has impacted a lot of sports programs, and I think has changed quite a bit of the delivery of St. Catherine's sport program. How have things been affected at St. Catherine's?
Yeah, so obviously not being at school for the majority of term 2, and then even when we came back for the final, 2 to, well, it was a bit staggered across the year levels, but 2 to 4 weeks of having students on site, we weren't able to do any hands-on sport. So we turned to an online delivery of our sport program. It would have been term 2, should have been cross-country season for us. So we had our cross-country coaches providing weekly running sessions. Our weekly sports we would have been playing in would have been AFL, hockey and netball. So we had weekly skills-based sessions for the girls to do at home. So we used a mixture of videos that staff created, videos that we found through, for example, the Hockey Australia website and other sporting organisations. And yeah, that was the majority of our sport program through term 2. We also used Strava, so we created a St. Catherine's Strava group, just as a way of creating some social connections amongst the girls and getting them to encourage each other and share what they were doing. So I think we got up to about 80 or 90 girls in that group, which was fantastic. We would have had our house cross-country competition in term 2, so we turned that into a Strava or running app based challenge. So the girls went out on a Wednesday afternoon. They had to they could either do a 2 or a 4K run, and they got out and had to take a screenshot of their Strava account or Map My Run or whatever app they were using for their entry. So we had something like 285 students out of possible 400 participate in that competition, which was awesome. And I offered some bonus points for them getting out in their house-coloured St. Cath's tops. So the thought of 280 plus St. Cath's students running around the streets on an afternoon was really great. yeah, so look, the girls seem to, you know, majority wise take to the challenge of having to self-motivate and yeah, having to take it on themselves to stay involved in sport rather than having, you know, people there right face to face, pushing them along to be involved. I think a good lesson for later in life, really.
Yeah, definitely a great lesson for the girls, and it sounds like the school did an amazing job of keeping everyone active. Love the idea of Strava and getting everyone engaged, even though like, I think it's a really cool idea. Nick, how do you think programs will be affected next term as you come back to running sports again?
So as a school, we're going to get back into sport in an intra-school sense from week 2 of term 3. So we've got a 4-day week for the first week of the term, which we're going to allow the students a chance to settle back into their studies. From week 2, we'll go into badminton, soccer, athletics training. We'll have some intra-school matches. GSV are hoping that we'll be able to start inter-school competition from, say, week 4 or 5. So yeah, hopefully all going in the right direction. We're able to get back to some form of competitive sport mid-term 3. I did the sign-ups for term 3 sport in the last week of term 2 and had certainly higher numbers than I normally would in terms of sign-ups. So the girls are definitely keen to get involved as well.
Yeah, sounds like they're super keen to get back out there.
Yeah.
It totally would be. When you get back to sport in this environment, what role do you see Clipboard playing in helping you get safely back to running sport activities again?
So a big part will be having accurate roles of who was at a certain session. So, touch wood, it doesn't happen to us, but we know it's already happening to a few schools where they've got a staff member or a coach or even a student test positive to COVID-19. So if that case, we'd want to, have accurate records of all contact that those people were in contact with. So having our attendance on Clipboard, accurate roles for every session will certainly assist in that manner for the students as well as the coaches, really knowing, having that digital, really accurate knowledge of which coaches were at which session as well.
And what do you think that process would be like if we were using the old paper systems?
A lot less accurate, I think. Yeah. Again, using paper rolls, not quite as accurate, and you've got the challenge of them going missing, them being messy, them not being complete. The great thing with Clipboard, say I assign a teacher and 2 coaches to a session. If they don't take the role, they're getting a little buzz on their phone or an email saying, come on, you haven't taken the role. So it's rare that they have the chance to forget or not fulfill that duty. Which is great to have that accuracy.
So Nick, would you recommend that other schools also look at choosing Clipboard if they're facing similar problems that St Catherine's faced?
Yeah, certainly. I think in terms of its Clipboard's ease of use, the interface, the app is really intuitive, really easy to get your head around. So look, it's certainly something that I would recommend if schools are facing similar issues. And if they're keen to get the paper roles.
Nick, and what's it been like working with the team at Clipboard?
The Clipboard team have been fantastic. Phoebe, who's our sort of go-to technical person, really easy to contact, always really quick to communicate, and really happy and easy to deal with. Really happy to assist with any issues we've run into. There haven't been too many that I've faced, but any questions that I've had have been quickly answered. The couple of training sessions that yourself, Sam, and Phoebe ran with our staff were great, and really got us set up for rolling out the use of Clipboard.
It's awesome. Thanks for that feedback. So a real key part of what we're trying to do is to improve students' lives by enabling fulfilling extracurricular programs and experiences. And a big part of that is by reducing the amount of time that admin staff like yourself need to spend on the admin work. And you can actually focus on student outcomes because that time and that burden has been taken off. Do you feel like students at St. Catherine's have now been better off and are having better sporting experiences because of Clipboard?
I think the best thing the Clipboard brings to our students is it's probably something that is intangible to them, but for myself and for our staff and for the school, our risk management, or Clipboard assists with our risk management. So having accurate records of which students are going where, which coaches are with them, who's done what, those sorts of things really assist with the management of our program. So in terms of student well-being, we know how important risk management is, and that's where Clipboard really helps us as a school, helps the staff, and ultimately helps the students to be safer in being involved in sport.
Nick, what advice would you give to someone who's on the fence about taking the leap and moving away from their manual systems and jumping onto Clipboard?
Well, the Clipboard team are really keen for you to trial the program. So that would be my advice. Just jump on it, trial it with a team or two. Even through my use of it during term one, I learned so much about just the different functions that are available. So the more you play around with its use, the better understanding you have of how it can help you. So certainly try and ask the Clipboard guys as many questions as you can, because they know the program inside and out, and they're really helpful and keen to improve your usability of the system.
Awesome. And Nick, I guess the final question, bit of a curveball. What surprised you most or made you happiest after starting to use Clipboard?
I was surprised of how easy to use it is. Like I said earlier, it's the system is so intuitive. I wouldn't consider myself super tech savvy or anything, but just by playing around, by clicking into different functions, I got a pretty good understanding of how the system works, quite quickly. So, I sometimes when you go into these things, you get a bit bamboozled with, the technical side of things, but Clipboard's been really easy to roll out across, a relatively large sporting program that we have.
Fantastic. Well, Nick, thank you so much for your time. We love having you as a great advocate for Clipboard and as part of this community. So I really appreciate it, and speak again soon.
My pleasure. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.